That looks like an old pen. This pen's also almost dead, but I like
Awesome sauce. I think you made that.
it. I bought them. I bought a bunch of them, but that was a long time ago. Now I think in the before days, actually. I wouldn't anticipate they're going to be very good pens at this point, especially since they weren't really built to be good pens in the first place.
That is one thing about Arizona. Like you can literally leave a bag of chips open for like months.
Yeah.
And they'll never get stale. But like pens,
Yeah.
especially cheap pens.
Sure.
And at this office we always try to take the hotel pens. Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies. I'm Rob Fulmer, the Director of Government and Community Affairs for the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Executive Director Andrew Baum. Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier.
Hotel pens, man, they let me down so much. I like I think it's Hilton because they twist.
Oh, yeah.
And that way, like, they're not accidentally opening when they're in your pocket or whatever.
Yeah.
Those things die so
I
fast.
think they started making them thinner to save money.
Oh,
Have
I
you
love
noticed that? I actually prefer that.
so great. But you know what I should do is, like, take it apart, put a different pen part in.
Yeah. Well, I have...
But instead, on my minimalism journey, I've disposed of all of my pens except for a box of Sharpie S2 gel pens that Bonnie gave me, Maggie and Brady, for Christmas last year. She gave us each a box because
Right on.
we were saying how much we love them. And these, which are the ones that go with my little notebook guy.
Oh, okay.
So you can write and then erase.
Oh, it erases. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just use water and it comes off. But now
Oh,
it's not
this
doing
is one of these. Okay, this is...
It's called Rocketbook.
And then you can scan this to...
Yeah, and then you save it in the
okay.
app. And it can do some optical character recognition, not with my handwriting, but most people.
That's the key.
And then, you erase it, and then you have a new notebook, and you don't have to have 10 notebooks around with stuff in it that you actually never look at.
Right.
You just take a picture, and you don't look at that.
But it's there. It's somewhere.
It is somewhere.
not-
So I got rid of the 10 notebooks I had. I got rid of the big ones because I have one of
Right.
these that's big too. And I've had these for years.
Huh.
So I still didn't buy anything new.
Yeah. So I know you were looking at all the tablet-y things, and you gave me one of them, and it just had too much going on. But that stands alone, and if you take a picture of it, syncs up with an app, I suppose, and yeah.
On the big one, there's little icons on the bottom, and you check it off. It automatically files it wherever that is.
Huh.
If you do a double hashtag and then write something in between that names the file that,
Right.
yeah, it's pretty great.
I have a very tiny pen. Well, it's like that. It's not. It's when it comes with the packet when you fly internationally, with like your eye mask and lotion and all that stuff. And all that stuff is sponsored, it seems. But like, you really need the pen if you're still filling out your forms before you land. Although they're getting away from that, but like I have that little pen, and it's a cardboard tube, so it's not like
A weapon.
Well, I don't know if that was
I
the
mean,
intent.
they
I
let
think it was
people
more.
on the plane with pens. You know how many ways you can kill someone with a pen?
Okay,
Probably
Jason
one.
Bourne.
You just stab them with it, I guess. I mean, you can't write on them to death.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could.
yeah. That's pen talk.
Yeah, there we are.
I
That's
do
what's
need
up.
to start writing more because I noticed that I'm, losing my dexterity. You like one of the things I tell people when they say, "Oh yeah, I want to be a beer judge," I'm like, you actually have to practice writing a lot in a short period of time. And like, I remember taking the test and my hand was just cramping up, and like you actually need to practice writing as much as tasting and note taking and all that stuff.
Which reminds me, we may go to that digital form of judging this year.
Yeah.
I just have to get the whole program put together in my spare time.
Well, Cool. We're accelerating that program to a different time frame, is what I understand. What you're saying.
Yeah, I have a meeting next week to kind of establish a timeline, but the Arizona Craft Beer Awards is moving to August.
Mm-hmm.
Couple reasons. Phoenix Magazine wants to combo it up with their Best Fest, so it's when that Best of Phoenix issue comes out.
Right.
And you were mentioning, and I was also, it was in my head that beer fests by themselves are struggling. So they only had 5 people out of 700 that bought tickets for both of those events. So it's exposing the craft beer festival to a new audience, and it's exposing Best Fest and their participants to another new audience. So I think it's a win-win. The August thing is a little difficult for the logistics of getting the beer because it's not GABF drop-off time yet. It's a whole different track to get the beer.
Right.
I think that can be worked out with a few friendly helpers. But overall, I think it's a great idea. Plus, it's going to be inside. It's going to be at a time when October is so freaking busy.
It sounded like a movie. At a time when October is so busy.
At a time when October is so freaking busy. Move your event to
man in an
August.
organization changed beer tasting and judging.
So that's the
summer.
thought process. But yeah, we're going to get that full schedule down starting next week.
Okay. It's worth pursuing. It's not that the actual competition was suffering. It's not that the presentation of awards was suffering, but I think those two things could work together. Now,
I could use help from a technical committee with it.
Sure.
I had many people sign up to be on the technical committee.
Yeah, you do.
That was all.
Okay.
That's all. They signed up.
Okay.
I've reached out several times. I've heard nothing back. So
Interesting.
that's what it is.
Maybe we should call them like clubs, like in college.
Yeah, maybe they give people more reason.
Technical club. Because I was like, to do a junior lobby.
A committee sounds so, ugh.
A
Club sounds fun.
Junior lobby explorer. Comes with a field trip or two.
Right.
And if you go to Western Rivers, like I did, they get a lunch.
Yeah.
Like you don't get a lot of calories in a full day over at the state capitol.
It's true.
And they close the coffee shop across from the gift store as part of that Noble Coffee that all closed. So Wi-Fi still works though.
Yikes.
So get it from
I
the
didn't know
hallway.
Noble Coffee closed.
Yeah, they closed all their Valley locations. Yeah, that was a nonprofit driven coffee house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's distressing as someone who runs a nonprofit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what's going on in the coffee world. I don't know if they're facing some of the same stuff we are.
Coffee prices are way through the roof. Raw coffee beans.
I would suggest that they're probably more price sensitive to tariffs, and they have the more ability to preemptively pre-price stuff to sort of try to mitigate that. So maybe. But
it's not like eggs or anything. But
I had some other thoughts, but we just went from pens to coffee.
yeah, it's so great. Now we're on eggs.
Are we on eggs? Okay. What about
I mean,
eggs?
our audience loves hearing us just riff and ramble.
There's no application for eggs that I can think of in the beer industry.
They used to use eggs as a clarifying agent.
Yeah, that was the only thing I could think
in
of.
the 1800s.
Right. I mean, but you could use any other gloppy stuff.
Protein.
Yeah. I mean, carrageenan,
Yeah, for sure.
which is now actually more popularly used as a personal lubricant.
Oh,
These two things intersected. Kind of knew about because it's a product that has a lot of different uses. But a couple years ago, my wife came back from the the Open, and she brought these packets back, and I don't know if I saw it. I'm like, why do you have this? And
promo lube.
yeah, and I said, oh, because it has carrageenan in it. She's like, what's that? They thought it was hand lotion or something like that, or I don't know. I'm like, oh yeah,
the Open is a wild place.
I know. So I said, this is for clarifying beer. Not really, but that's what they used it for. Yeah, they have fish bladders. Guinness was like one of the last ones to keep that, but that went away long before anyone who's listening was probably a drinker.
Yeah.
So fish
Ground
bladder.
up PVC.
What?
Ground up PVC.
Oh, okay.
Very effective. It's got a static charge. You put it in the beer, all that stuff sticks to it. It falls to the bottom, and however, you're required by law to filter it out.
Yeah. Back when we just didn't have enough microplastics in our life.
Yeah, that's right.
Put it in our beer. Who is using that? Anybody?
No, not that I know of, but
Yeah.
it was definitely
thing?
in the science of beer.
Huh.
I had a funny story about finding a adult product and being like, what the hell is this, right?
Yeah.
So we were going somewhere, when the kids were little, we were going somewhere, and Bonnie was doing laundry, and there's a condom in the dryer.
Yes.
Everyone's stuff was in there. She's like, what the hell is this? And I go, it's not mine. I wouldn't, like, it was one of those novelty, stupid ass condoms.
Right.
I was like, I'm no better than that. She's like, oh, we have to talk to the kids. So we got in the car and started driving, and they were trapped and they couldn't run away. So I tell the story to my friend Jeremy Jones, and he's like, oh, I slipped that in your pocket. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you don't remember?
So
I was
did
like,
they?
no.
So you didn't think they put up a believable defense in the car, and you were convinced that one of them did, and they just didn't crack? Is that?
No, I didn't think that. We don't. Who knows? I mean, it's good if they learn about that stuff early. But also, the important point was not whose is this. The important point was, don't use these.
These in particular.
Ask us. We'll get you good ones.
Right.
Oh, my God.
Presumably you went to a truck stop.
You got it out of a vending machine? No. No.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my fun story for the listeners today.
Yeah. Okay.
And Rob. That is not on my list of what are we talking about
I mean,
today.
I have a small list here.
It's
you want
not a lot.
to
So
get into
that's-
your stuff at all? Or are we going to just keep...
Well, hey,
Seemed-
I've been 100% just rocking on Arizona Strong Beer Fest again. I know I'm saying it again and again. Next week I'll say it again, and then after that I won't.
Yeah.
So lots of questions from consumers, from participants, from potential vendors, all kinds of stuff. Our team at Salt River Fields is doing so much work on making this a success, so just want to shout them out. Thank you, guys. And we have a couple new activations. We're going to do brewery swag baskets for people to put in a drawing.
Okay.
Let's use that word, drawing. Okay. Let's not use that R word. That's
right.
Potentially not good. So we're going to have a drawing for some swag baskets from breweries, and that's going to be cool. And we're also going to have a full pour tent. I don't know if we talked about that. A 20 by 20 tent. It's going to be fenced in. It's $7. It's going to be for a can of beer, a full can. So people can come into the event.
Right.
Chill.
Right.
They have their samples, having a good time, but they really just want to sit down with their buddy they haven't seen in a while.
Right.
And not have to get back in line and sit down and get back in line and move around. They can just go there, have a beer together, chill, and be in the shade for a little bit, and then go back to their regular event. Yeah. Should be nice.
Looking at the weather, it looks like mid-70s.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah, happy about that.
Better get the misters out. Or the heaters. I don't know.
The VIP pre event Friday pickup will be under covers anyway.
It's going to be in the
rain or shine, no matter what on that. Not that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you can see the ball game. I mean, the players, they have to be in the elements. We can't prevent that. They follow those baseball rules.
Maybe we could have people with umbrellas running around. It's not going to rain. What are you even talking about?
No, I'm just
My God.
just suggesting that we can't be responsible for the baseball players
No,
at all.
I know. Especially out on those side practice fields where they're doing their pitching and hitting practice.
Right. I don't have any idea about construction, road construction. I don't have any about any other infrastructural issues.
No,
but I would say that in times of infrastructural problems, the gathering points are usually large stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
So
Perfect. we're in good shape.
Yeah.
And then speaking of sports events,
Yeah.
the Superb Owl is
Yeah.
coming up this weekend.
This weekend. Yeah.
Got Waste Management Open, taking up people's time, energy, and everything on the news.
Yeah.
We've got the Superb Owl that Arizona Wilderness released today.
Nice.
It's a Vienna lager with lime, 4.2%. Pick some up for your party.
So Mexican style,
There you go.
or the German style that became the Mexican style because of
Well
all the
said.
German immigration into Mexico and Texas. Why not here? I don't know. Probably because we were losing breweries at that time to tuberculosis and Indian attacks and fire. Fire is a big thing that kills breweries.
It is, yeah.
In fact, that's why in Europe at a certain time you didn't brew at all during the summer because of the fire hazard.
Wow.
So that's why you have these seasonal beers.
Martzens,
Yeah.
Oktoberfests.
Anyway,
Interesting. That's it.
Superb Owl.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
You can get your tickets for Arizona Strong Beer Fest at strongbeerfest.com.
Great. I have a little strong beer news from Blast from the Past.
Sweet.
I ran into Eric and Jessica Hasty last night. Ran into them at the Main Ingredient.
That is interesting.
They are a couple that we performed their marriage ceremony at Strong Beer 10 years ago because the date fell on February 14th, and we had a contest. I think we had like 25 people enter. We interviewed 10 couples or something like that. 25 couples entered. We interviewed 10, and they won hands down. We had donated wedding dress and tuxedo, and they had their own area. And Chuck Knoll from Crescent Crown performed the wedding ceremony. And it's 10 years.
And they had
coming up.
And they had beautiful furniture from Cool Party Rentals.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was when you were just a brewer, and she just happened to be in the events industry. So
Yeah, special event furniture rental.
yeah.
Yeah, and was that my first Arizona Strong as
I'm not keeping track of that, so I don't know.
it was? No, it was my second one. All right. Wait,
So I ran into
no,
that
it was my
fun.
first one. Wow.
Yeah. So that was 10 years. Well, it will be 10 years.
15,
So
14.
I'm gonna predict that they make it the next couple days to hit that milestone.
I love
because they
it.
brought it up to me. I'm like,
I love it.
so as always, they have an offer to be at any of the festival, at that festival anytime.
Yes.
Can't keep someone away from their
An offer in perpetuity.
wedding anniversary.
That's what the lawyers
even
say.
though we moved it. But that was my little highlight. And I don't know that it hasn't happened, but I have never heard of any other couple getting married at a beer festival. But I could be wrong. I haven't heard anything.
I've never heard.
I've never heard our colleagues mention it,
True.
so I don't know. But it hasn't really come up. I don't know when the next Valentine's Day will be on a Saturday. It might be next year.
Last year it was the 17th. This year it's the 15th. Next year it's the 14th, I believe.
So it is coming up.
Depending on what the Superb Owl does. Because if it's,
Right.
they might say that's too soon for us to have our big game, and they might move it later. And then we would have to move later.
You can say Super Bowl, by the way. Super Bowl,
know.
Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. They're not going to shut us down
It's still fun
to avoid saying it.
to avoid saying it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why not? Yeah, that's coming up then next year. we don't have a leap year is not going to screw that up or something. That's usually what happens.
So why we went from 17 to 15.
Okay, well, that's going to be a challenge if that happens. Better start working on that contest right now.
Cool.
What else you got?
I'll have our event committee get on it.
Right on.
Let's see. What is going on in the local beer scene?
Well, if you don't have an immediate answer, I could switch to what I'm going to talk about a little bit. But
Oh, yeah. No, I know that you spent the entire day at the legislature yesterday.
I did. And the things that people should know is we have a official bill number for adult hemp beverages. It's 1556, a Senate bill. It is being sponsored by TJ Shope of Coolidge. TJ Shope has been one of the most prolific bill passers. I mean, if we're using that language or not, in his time. And he is the Senate president pro tem. So he runs a lot of the floor under the direction of the president. So if you're listening into any of the floor sessions, you're likely to hear his voice, see him at the dais. He used to own Shope's grocery store. It was an independent grocery store, and so that's how his affiliation came up in terms of helping with some alcohol bills. He doesn't just do whatever we ask or the distributors ask or whoever comes to him. I think as often as we've asked, we've gotten a no or a maybe or a so he's a tough cookie in that way. But I think he's looking after his position, and he no longer owns the grocery store. But I think it's his experience is different. So when you do get something accepted by him, it has gone through his own vetting process, and nobody signs on a bill to lose. So.
Right.
So that's all very good news. We have a couple issues out there. We're waiting for the folder to come back from Ledge Council for a number. I have no reason to believe that it's not going to happen, but I am, we have till Monday to make sure that happens.
And
so
which
I'm
bill
trying
is
to
this you're
follow.
talking about?
This is the bill that would lower the minimum amount a brewery has to make. And this is to support some of our rural breweries or some of our pocket area breweries or breweries that may have a mixed model of business. So they aren't necessarily relying solely on the sale of beer to perpetuate their business. So the things I would tell you are the two things that I would relate to you so that you understand is Oso Arcadia. If they had to rely solely on the sale of beer, there would not be an Oso Arcadia. But they use that program to get people into the process of brewing. You can guest brew there. It allows their brewers to innovate. It allows that particular location to get a mix of products they normally wouldn't.
And to do more collaborations with other breweries because you don't have to do it at a huge scale. You do it on a small scale.
Right. So and so it makes that gathering place, that restaurant, that bar, that brewery a more interesting place. And that's kind of the things that as an organization, maybe not explicitly but underlying is we want these interesting, characterful places to exist because that's where our beers sell the best.
Innovation has always been one of the bases of craft beer. Mm-hmm. And as people have gotten larger and larger systems, it just gets harder and harder to innovate unless you have something like a pilot system. And if there's, say there was a brewery who has been around a while, but they open a new location, which is focused on English style ales.
Yes.
You couldn't really pump that out on the large system. You'd want to have perhaps a smaller system that didn't do as much volume, but definitely supported the goals of the larger organization.
Right. And just say hypothetically, they wanted to get into cask ales.
Sure.
They don't turn over very quickly, so you don't want to commit a large volume to that program. So, we're hoping that some of the extant locations of breweries, tap rooms, if you will, or restaurants, they have the ability to probably get into that if they want. And I think it would be a mistake for this to be characterized as here's a way for us to get people who don't have any resources or assets to lower the bar to get them in industry. I think that would be grossly wrong characterization. I think an ideal situation is maybe in a rural town where you may already have a business that's going for quite a while, or you own the building free and clear, because that's what the pressure is for a lot of these breweries. Even when they're successful, millions of dollars coming in, if the next year you're paying $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more a month for rent, that's going to kill you. I mean, that literally will kill you. So you own the building outright and clear. You are a destination of a small tourist place might be able to pull that off, and then also mix in other local beers or national brands. It gives somebody a reason to go on the left side of the highway versus the right side of the highway, where there are other types of bars and restaurants. And, to be fair to those other restaurants and bars, maybe it brings more people in because they're like, hey, we could go to Tucson, but we could go through Florence, take a little longer drive, and we can check out Florence.
And check out this new brewery out in Florence. But that new brewery wouldn't exist if they had to make 5,000 gallons a year.
I just want to underscore this is hypothetical. But hypothetically, if there was a brewery in downtown Florence, you also might want to check out the Irish bar that's there. It's a pretty good one. Been to it. So that's that. We also have a bill, and I don't want to get into the details too much because it's kind of complicated, and I don't
understand it.
Well, no, I understand it.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, we want to be, as an organization, be able to take a stronger role in setting up Series 16 licenses. So as it stands right now, because we don't have a liquor license under that program, we can't be a part of that system. We can only wait for breweries to get their licensing, and we can kind of coordinate. But the argument is, well, you have to have that kind of skin in the game to get that kind of license in. And the answer is actually no, because of Series 15, you can be a nonprofit. You have no liquor license, and you can do it. And there are more and more protections in the Series 15 since we started, because we asked for these things. We asked to have a program to vet contractors, so that will be a part of it. And the reason is, and this is going to be a sort of a sub theme for a lot of the things we do, and like not everything needs a legislative solution. I totally understand that. But there are things that are done by cultural practice or by industry standard that it's difficult for people to change unless there's the permission under the law. And so to just draw a demonstration of that, when you put a 22-ounce bomber, I know they don't exist anymore, a bottle of wine and a handle of alcohol on the table, they all mean different things. They all maybe not, some hard, depending on what spirit it is. Maybe that's to be passed around and sipped in snifters, or maybe you're like, oh, you can't have that here. You need mixers, and you need ice cubes, and you need to make cocktails with that particular liquor. Wine is generally shared. Nobody just goes, oh, cool, and like exclusively
drinking out of that.
Right, out of the bottle.
Bomber.
The bottle of beer you're going to drink out of the bottle. The bomber you won't. A can, so the 19.2, like that is an individual serving. It's only a few ounces more than a 22, but see, all these things are different, right? And that's the cultural part of it. What we found is because the experience of being able to go to a festival-looking experience and somewhat experience is similar but not the same, and to be able to buy to go, there are norms that we would like to establish. One of them is we would prefer that these evening festivals don't sell up to the point of the closure of the festival.
2 a.m.
Yeah, well, I mean, even 10 o'clock, I think, is asking a lot. depending on the size of the experience, maybe you want to centralize the purchase of it and the dispensing of it as they leave, so that there's one more check to understand, like, I am giving this to somebody who I deem to be reasonably who is not impaired, right?
Right.
Maybe you want that last check, and it's
Who is not obviously intoxicated
right.
per statute.
Right. There's no necessary discrimination between who's selling and what they're selling and when they're selling, and there's no coordination of that. So we would just like to have the ability to honestly face the consequences if we were at a bad event. And that's it in a nutshell. The mechanics of that are a little bit of legalese, but we're collapsing 3 statutes: the spirits, the wineries, and the newly found breweries. We're collapsing the language so it's all one, so we don't have this balkanization of different things, and the wineries get this extra thing, but we don't. And
breweries have to sign up 60 days before, and wineries have to sign up 15 days before. Silliness like that.
So, and trying not to get into it, I got into it, but that's that. So yeah, that I don't have a number on that yet. I'm anxiously awaiting to make sure that gets in the system, because it has to be in the system by Monday. I know there's other vehicles that we could use beyond that, but I'm not sure that that increases the workload on getting that bill through. So I don't want to do that. We'll see. But it looks good. Everything's good, but it's not good. It'll be great when I see the number. But I went down there to support Western Rivers, which I've done 4 out of the last 9 years they've done it. And I sat in a meeting with my state senator, Lauren Kuby. I did not get to go to TJ Shope. I don't think TJ Shope went to TJ Shope because it was
very busy.
It was right before he runs the Senate. Mm-hmm. So I think in the past he's always scheduled that way, and so we always have to follow up with him. I also had a meeting with the Senate Minority Leader, Priya Sundaresan, who is in the Tucson area, not downtown, but sort of north and west of downtown, or east of downtown. She is a craft beer fan. I talked to her at the Biltmore for Cities and Towns. So I was trying to let her know that we got those bills coming up, and but to talk about water. And one of the reasons we talk about water is because of the innovation thing. Because people ask, like, what are you guys doing here? I'm like, well, we are water users, and we have good things and bad things, and we want to be known as understanding what changes are coming, and if we can get ahead of them, we love Arizona. We love a lot of branding with wilderness and nature, and there's a lot of breweries that support conservation efforts, either explicitly or implicitly. There are breweries that work with Audubon Society, provide beer for their events. Superb Owl is that kind of a beer.
Right.
That, at least in the past, was hand in hand with Audubon.
Yep.
So we want to be there, and we want to understand and talk to the right people. We are not there to direct policy. We're there to explain our interest and
understand.
Right. And also, dealing with the wineries, their agricultural component is just as valid as any other farmer. And I have to remind people that we also have an agricultural component in the Sinagua Malt Company. And hopefully someday that we'll get to a point where we can fund some more research and see that really, honestly, that should be a model. And maybe there are a few more I just haven't heard of. But from, Eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, all the way down to the border here, New Mexico, Mexico, anywhere there's Western rivers, right? There could be a smaller operation that has the potential to grow, especially if we're facing tariffs on base grain. I think the time now is to understand what those varieties of grain are going to taste like, because it's not only the organic plant, but it's the malting process. And our Sonogmo malt needs some competition. It needs people need to go, hey, this is a great program, but I prefer this other maltster. Oh yeah, why? And then they up their malting.
Right.
They offer more grades of roast or whatever it is. So that's our interest in that, and it gets us they do a great job of getting a wide swath. And I don't tell about the programs because I'm not as familiar with them, and they always have somebody there. But I'm there because I'm a lobbyist, and I can help move the conversation when things get stuck, and they do get stuck once in a while.
Right.
There are a lot of people who see Audubon and automatically assume that they have a radical agenda, and it's not the case at all. I think at this point, we're waiting for someone to give up something so that we have a bill move forward so we can build on it again. Because a lot of these things haven't changed since the 80s.
Water use regulations.
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's EPA rules that come and go.
Yeah. I mean, we're not fixated on those. I know that, or they're not fixated on those as much right now. I think the foreseeable goal is to unify the Democratic bill and the Republican bill and create something called, instead of the AMA, which is what the larger water management associations are, and they do favor larger urban areas, is to create a rural version of that. I think that's the goal, so that we know that we'll have an organization monitoring what levels we have, because we don't know that, believe it or not, and to locally manage those. So that's what that is all about. And yes, we do use water. And that's why we're a part of it.
And yes, we care about water.
And we do.
Yeah.
What else? I know there's some housing bills, and I actually had a couple members who are in the real estate industry who's like, hey, what do you think of this bill? And before I even think about the actual content, I try to analyze how likely it's going to get to where it's going to get. And there's a bill that was a repeat of last year's housing bill. The cities and towns don't like it. Rural Republicans like it. There is a carve out that they don't. It's carved out. It's designed for large urban areas. It's complicated, but I think something's going to pass. And it's just basically the classic local versus state control of housing.
NIMBY.
And ultimately, at some point, the more housing you create, whether it's designed for low income or it's high end, of more inventory means more opportunity. I know that those things can take a long time, but if you don't have the inventory, then carving out low income, if you don't have inventory, is going to cause that to go up, either explicitly or through other mechanisms. People will rezone those things or try to extract more income out of the thing they built. It's just human nature, right?
In Chandler, we have a development that's trying to get off the ground and keeps getting neighbors keep coming out against it. We don't want the traffic around here.
Right.
Oh, you're building so many. They're on a county island, so the city of Chandler said, "Well, we're not going to provide you any sewer or water services. So go ahead and build, but we're not giving you any water."
That's not a solution, though. Yeah,
It's not.
Yeah.
It's bad.
And the people would feel differently if there wasn't such an objection to public transportation or solving those traffic issues differently. I don't know. And if you have concentration population, you will have more places to walk to, presumably at some point. But it's really hard when you have a mix of public and private, and they're not working hand in hand. Which brings me to a completely separate issue.
Great.
Because I think it is going to explain some things about our liquor industry. So there has been there's a problem with Airbnbs in terms of this particular issue. There is a strong claim that the pervasiveness of Airbnbs is limiting housing, and it may not be evident. I think according, I'm reading from the agenda, but there's. We need about 65,000 homes in Arizona, and there are 35,000
Airbnbs.
Airbnbs mostly in the Phoenix area. But in Sedona, there's 10,000 people and 5,000 short-term rentals.
Wow. Sedona has a horrendous housing problem right now.
Right. And so I will tell you that anybody who works in the hospitality industry, I'm sure has difficulty retaining and keeping people happy there. And that extends to somewhat to our breweries. I know that Williams has a problem with that sometimes. Some of these places that are populated during the summer, but not so much in the winter, that's where you run into issues. And I don't know how many short-term rentals there are in some of these other areas, but that's the argument. And so how do you solve that? You could just put a limit on them, but then you're taking away property rights, and if you do it at the state level, you're not really understanding the nuance between literally half of the homes in Sedona being short-term rentals.
Right.
And to some degree, to a very large degree, you also need hotels and resorts to survive in a place like Sedona. I mean, you don't want to carve that out so that. And I know it's like not every major chain is represented in Sedona. It could be, and there are also independent resorts too, right?
And but also Sedona's a fragile ecosystem, and like, how many more do you want to build?
True.
And that's the city of Sedona's point.
Right.
And is it because they're just people who have lived there for 30 years and they don't like seeing the change that's around them? Yes.
Right.
That's definitely part of it. But when you look at what's going on and you see the number of people that show up there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it
Right.
can be incredibly shocking.
Right. So before we get into that, because I like too deep into that, because I'm not an expert
That's
on
not
it
what
at
this
all.
show is about.
No, I want to relate it to the way there's also a sentiment after the 30s, after Prohibition, that there were too many absentee owners of liquor establishments. Someone just buy all the licenses and let chaos reign. A lot of them were owned by large breweries, so there was a feeling that they were just pumping beer, alcohol, liquor into these places and not really caring about the local effects, long-term effects. So they came up with the licensing system, the quota licensing system. So like you can only have so many licenses per 10,000 people. And that's what our quota license system is for. Number 6 licenses, beer, wine, and spirits, and for the full liquor license, and also beer and wine stores to go, and full liquor license to go. Those are all quota. There's so many per 10,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And that has the effect of, one, having a place like Sedona or
How about Williams?
Williams maybe, or just other places, Flagstaff, other places having, it's difficult to get a license. In some towns, impossible unless you buy the entire business. So these licenses had a value when they were purchased, but they accumulate value or they can lose value depending on how much demand there is. And so clearly, if you have a, I don't know why I'm picking Williams, but clearly if you have hundreds of thousands of visitors a year that aren't residents, the demand for a liquor license is higher than the actual lived population. So those are going to go for a lot more, and they might be impossible to get. What I hope for the Airbnb situation, or anytime there's a limit on licenses, if the government steps in, the local government or the state government, more obviously, gets in and say, oh, well, we're going to do this licensing system. We're only going to allow so many licenses a year. The cost of that license is going to, in this case, skyrocket. And once you get involved at that level of regulation, it's really hard to unwind the clock. It's really difficult. And that's, people ask me about why does this liquor license cost so much, and why can't I get a license? Or and I say, well, this is because now you have an invested stakeholder who owns a license who doesn't want to see the value of that go down. They want to see it go up, in fact. And there are literally places at this point, like the biggest position they have is when I retire, I'm going to sell this and it's going to be worth way more than the entire business. The license itself is more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a longstanding bar, that's barely up to code and can reasonably stay open, like someone's going to buy that license and tear it down. So that's what I would hope doesn't happen. There's some interesting economic stuff out on podcasts on Freakonomics about boat slips, and when the municipalities get into renting boat slips, they only charge a $25 fee, but on the secondary market, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Because, if you're a small coastal town, very populated, and so there's this the municipality has a mission to serve the public, and a lot of these licenses are probably now held by people who only vacation there,
Right.
and park their boat. So it's complicated, and like the reason that we have these difficulties is because we have all these invested stakeholders on a system that worked for a while, and then until it didn't, and that's. If you follow that, I just want you to keep that in mind. That's what we deal with on the liquor licensing side.
Right,
all the time.
right. There's a weird way that you get those additional licenses. So if you have increased every year they evaluate it. If you increase your population by 9,000 when it has to be 10, then you don't have a license increase that year. But then the next year you increase it by 9 more. You still don't get another license. Even though you have 18,000 new residents, you still don't have any new licenses.
Yeah, I think we're trying to fix that.
Trying to fix it, yes.
But even so, like that's just an extra.
Sure.
It's not a lot. And
Sure.
Right now, I believe licensing in a lot of areas are either flattened or you can get them a little more less expensively. But like honestly. 10 years ago, a number 6 license probably cost $10,000 or $11,000, and it got as high as 80 or 90. And if you needed it yesterday, you're going to pay a lot more,
Right.
Because they know that you can't get it from anyone else, and they're going to hold you over a barrel if you could wait it out. But if you want to have a business with full service. I would recommend strongly getting that earlier than later. Even if it goes down, it signals to your customers that you're more than just the one thing, and it allows you so much flexibility. And it wasn't always as flexible. Breweries could not do as much as they can do now.
Right. Used to be that you could only serve beer,
your own beer,
brewed on the premise.
Yeah. So. What else have I got? I think that's it.
Yeah. I mean, that was a pretty big mouthful.
I'm sorry.
They're good. It's cool. It's cool. That's why they listen.
Trying to relate things going on in the world, things I see. And like, that is people said, oh, your job must be fun. I'm like, no. But like this understanding comes from sitting there and listening and talking to the right people. And, if anyone listening thinks I have it wrong, I'd love to talk to them about it, because I want to be more informed about that kind of stuff. But drawing analogies from what's going on and understanding why common sense things don't always pass is a lot of this stuff. Is understanding where people's what they value and what their understanding of the issue is. Mm-hmm. Back to water. There's a lot of people who want the freedom to do whatever they want, even though they're not getting as much as some of the corporations that are coming in and drilling lower than them, because they want the option to be able to say, well, I might be able to sell to one of those guys. I get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
Yep.
That's why there's holding out. We're kind of playing a game of chicken on that. My setup is fine. Everything's fine. I've owned this. My family's owned this. We never had to have any restrictions, so therefore we should never have any restrictions. It's fine until it's not, and I think to just dig in and say we're not changing is going to be a problem. So,
Right.
Hopefully, everyone listens to me and it's all kumbaya moving forward.
We all kumbaya.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, we didn't have any beers.
No, we did not.
I have Emergency. and you're drinking coffee.
I am drinking coffee. It's 10:45.
Sometimes the beer doesn't find you.
It is 10:45 in the morning when we're recording this. It would not be unusual to have a beer, but I have some appointments with my mom this afternoon, and I hope to run into somebody later in the afternoon. Somebody's been in the industry a long time, who I won't say. I'll tell you later. Have a few beers with, catch up with, and I think we have a update call on the hemp bill with the hemp team this afternoon too. So
I believe I'm going to be rolling over to Starfire Brewery to see if maybe that lemongrass is on tap now.
Oh yeah, give me a heads up on that, or let me know if it.
Yeah, I tasted it off the tank the other day. It was great.
Oh yeah.
He said that they were going to be putting it on. I'm just not sure if it's on yet. So
Okay. All right. Well, if we have to drink it down to get to the next tap, hopefully it's not the same one as the 12% beer.
It's okay. I'll figure it out. All right. Hey, thanks for listening. And it's not a beer podcast. It's a podcast about beer.